Hey, what's up guys? Atienza of Go Flatout PH, founder and editor-in-chief. So you might be wondering what we're doing here in the hotel room, what we're here for. So yeah, as this shirt says, we're actually gonna be driving the all-new next generation Ford Everest. But may tataka kayo na as you're watching this video, it's not yet July 28, so meaning that the Ford Everest is not actually supposed to be in the Philippines. Yes, you are right on that part, and that's because we're not in the Philippines. We're actually here in Thailand. Ford flew us here in Thailand, specifically in Kanchanaburi, a wonderful province 2 hours away from Bangkok. The place is wonderful, by the way, and we're gonna be driving the all-new next generation Ford Everest in a few minutes. And while we're gonna be driving the Thai-spec Ford Everest, it's gonna be 90% what you're gonna be experiencing back there in the Philippines. So yeah, I'm actually excited. I'm pretty sure you are excited. So yeah, tara, let's go. Let's drive the all-new Ford Everest then. So as expected, the design of the new Ford Everest echoes that of its pickup sibling, the equally new Ford Ranger. Since after all, the two vehicles are mechanically related. In the Philippines, 5 variants will be made available, though the variant that we're driving today will be the top trim Titanium Plus variant. But whichever variant you choose, the new Everest looks properly tough and rugged, whilst managing to look sleek and modern.
So not only do we want to make this vehicle tough and capable, but also sophisticated. So it's equally as though, driving on an adventure or in the city. So this kind of lower area where we've got the fascia, we really smoothed it out and given it this lovely contemporary feel. How we've integrated these spot lamps to also accentuate the look as well. So we've used sort of the Ford kind of truck DNA, as we call it. These matrix LED headlamps with this C-clamp DTRL really kind of something that we've taken from our sibling products, and what we've tried to do is give this real horizontal theme, really strong theme, kind of bursting into the lamps with this really proud Ford logo at the centre.
That dude, by the way, is Ian Foston, the chief nameplate engineer for the new Ranger and Everest. Some of the other design highlights of the new Ford Everest include its standard LED headlights, its C-clamp LED daytime running lights, which is echoed by the way in various parts of the vehicle, along with the leaner side profile and the much more distinct rear end. And then unique to this top trim Titanium Plus variant are stuff like adaptive matrix LED headlights with glare-free high beam, 20-inch alloy wheels, which are by the way in black for the sport variant, along with just the right amount of chrome trimmings. Oh, and if you're curious, this is how the base trend and the mid-spec sport will look like, with the sport variant's black elements and exclusive blue paint being our particular favorite, though we still have no clue on what the limited variant will look like. And as a reminder nga pala, what we're exploring today of course is the Thai-spec Ford Everest, though we're expecting at least 85 to 90% of its specs to pretty much carry over unchanged once it reaches the Philippine market on July 28. So, the Ford Everest has got a pretty face. But what's the point of having good looks if it doesn't perform well on the road? Thankfully, however, Ford's engineers were able to significantly improve its T6 platform. Therefore, the next generation Ford Everest drives significantly better than the previous generation model. Okay, one good part that I'm noticing about the Everest right now is refinement's really good. Super quiet actually, compared even to the previous generation model. And then,
Parang ako rin na-amaze. Bias aside to
so this is EJ from Ford Philippines. So that means I can't say bad things about the car. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Maybe we'll throw you out of the...
Just kidding. But I'm impressed! I'm impressed with my first impressions with the Ford Everest. Super quiet. The ride's really good. Even from the off-road portion a while ago. But later on, we're gonna go to even challenging off-road portions. And right now, first impressions, it's performing really well in these roads in Thailand. Technology works really well as well. It's not overly obtrusive. It's more of it really provides good assistance to the driver. Doesn't it's not annoying basically. It doesn't annoy the driver. It really just provides good assistance to your driving habits. And then wait, let's check out that. Okay, the transmission is actually pretty good as well. I think compared to the previous model, the 10-speed automatic responds better to your inputs. There's less confusion kasi usually with 10-speed automatics or with plenty of gears, the transmission tends to be confused. But here, parang it responds really well. It gives you the correct gear when you want it. In a handling perspective, it stays secure in the corners. It's not that it doesn't roll too much. And that's despite the fact that the suspension is tuned for comfort. But what really impresses me a lot is the NVH. It's really quiet. It's really super serene inside. But I think na, though this is a carryover engine from the previous model, they did a lot of tuning, right, to improve the NVH, mga ganon. Kasi compared to the previous Everest din, this is parang yung diesel clatter, pinong-pino na lang. It's not as clattery as the previous model. Parang mas lalong refined yung tunog niya. Okay, so I'm gonna slow down a bit so I could have room to accelerate. Okay. Yeah, there's less confusion with the transmission. It's better calibrated now, the 10-speed automatic. It gives the correct gear much eagerly now compared to the previous generation. Yeah, the ride's good. I like the how it absorbs the undulations, yung mga ganon, yung mga dips sa road. This feels almost like a crossover already in terms of ride. Actually, it feels almost like a crossover. Usually with the body-on-frame SUVs, there's this inherent firmness, diba? But in here, it feels car-like already in terms of ride, actually. Usually, our class benchmark would be the Nissan Terra in terms of ride, but this is one of the best already. And we're gonna avoid the bumps. I'm really gonna drive over the bumps. But for testing purposes, we're gonna drive over them purposefully. And the brakes are nice. The brakes feel secure. I mean, there's a good bite when you step on the brakes. The modulation of the pedal feels really good. It's not too spongy or it's not too firm. It's just the right amount of firmness. Wow, those are big pumps. Okay, that's good.
You have to turn left again at the next junction. And after we turn left here, we can try for the
adaptive cruise control.
Yes. And the same, if the system is detected the car in front, it will bring us green color. Turn on the adaptive cruise control. Now the cruise control is
Yeah, I'm gonna adjust the speed. The dog! the dog! I swear. Oh. Stray dog dramas aside, the next generation Ford Everest driving dynamics is a huge leap forward, thanks to major improvements to its frame, suspension, and even the engine itself. Even the electronic power steering has been improved. Whereas the previous model had seriously numb steering, this new one felt more precise. And this is especially highlighted once we go off-roading, wherein the electric power steering actually offered a decent amount of feel for you to know what's happening to the front wheels. One thing I also observed was that the steering, I think, has a better feel now for off-road compared to the previous generation as well. Like, I feel more of the road compared to the previous electric power steering, which is always a good thing if you're gonna go off-road. You better wanna know what's happening to the front wheels. And then speaking of off-roading, the new Ford Everest also gets improved approach breakover, and departure angles. And on top of that, Ford also introduced a host of new drive modes, one of which includes a new tow and haul mode, along with a new eco mode for improved fuel efficiency. And then if you're gonna switch to its various off-road modes, the system can now automatically select the appropriate mode for the 4x4 system, as well as even turn on the rear differential lock as needed. Yeah, I'm looking at you Isuzu MU-X, which doesn't have a rear differential lock, at least in Philippine spec.
You know, as well as that kind of great running clearance, there's also some great technology in this next gen Everest to make sure that it is really capable of off-road. So here we're showing the eagle eye view, looking down on the vehicle, but you can also do things like driveline status, or steering angle, or pitch and roll.
This is so cool. It's useful for off-roading.
Yes.
I mean, Nissan has the same thing with the Terra, but because of this part, the predictive thing for the steering, it makes it a lot more useful.
This guideline is very helpful
Yeah.
when you cannot see the road in front, especially when you go like uphill.
There's this predictive thing where it tells you what direction you're headed to. It's very useful.
When the speed is over, it will change to the off-road screen. So it's showing the differential working, which mode is working right now. Step on the brake and then put the transmission to neutral. Turn the drive mode to
Mud and rut.
mud and rut, and then press the 4L. Okay, and wait. Okay, now it's changed
There.
to 4L already. We can put transmission to drive and then we can drive. Yes, keep on straight first. Do not turn left yet.
Ah, yeah, you're gonna need the diff lock really here in such a situation because of the wheel articulation. Okay. I like the information here.
Yes.
It shows that you
Angle and information.
the diff lock, it says there. That's
Yes.
cool.
In this model, the fuel and control when it works, it doesn't have the sound like it anymore.
Oh yeah, that's a usual problem with Hilton control. The ABS noise.
Yes, but this one doesn't have that noise.
That's why my foot's out on the brake. And now moving inside the Ford Everest, its interior quality has improved leaps and bounds. And not just compared to the previous Ford Everest, but even when compared to its competition. There's plenty of premium soft touch materials across the dashboard, as well as on all four doors. And therefore, you now have one less reason to get the Ford Explorer. Because not only does the Everest have a more premium interior, but it even has better tech. All variants come with a fully digital gauge cluster, 8 inches on the lower variants, while the Titanium Plus gets a bigger 12.4-inch screen. Also standard across all variants is the Sync 4 infotainment system, which first made its debut in the Mustang Mach-E and the F-150. As standard, the screen size is at 10.1 inches, while the top trim Titanium Plus gets a bigger 12-inch screen. But apart from the differences in screen size, their functionality and operating system are practically the same. The user interface indeed looks very gorgeous, especially thanks to its high-resolution screen. And it's also worth mentioning that it comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The integration is simply well done on Ford's part. Though yun nga lang, may wino-worry kami sa infotainment system na ito. Because if you're getting the Titanium Plus 4x4 variant, medyo gulat ako that the buttons for the diff lock and the hill descent control are on the touchscreen. Which then raises a question. What if one day the screen fails? How will you then mechanically override the hill descent control as well as the rear differential lock? Though apart from that, the Sync 4 infotainment system definitely gets our praises, as it's simply now the class benchmark. And good job on Ford's part for retaining the hard buttons for the climate control system. And then other features worth mentioning include the wireless charger, which is standard on the Thai spec Sport variant and above, a hands-free powered tailgate likewise on the Sport variants and above, along with power folding third row seats and a panoramic sunroof on Titanium Plus variants, and an electromechanical gear shifter on models with a 10-speed automatic transmission. And this kind of shifter enables a lot of things, in particular with its fully autonomous parking feature. This is completely hands and feet free parking, and that's because the new Everest's enhanced self-parking feature is now able to take care of the gas, the brakes, and even the gear changes. Also new for this generation are a suite of enhanced driver assistance features, such as rear automatic emergency braking,
Yeah. Okay, that is cool.
There. Okay. One more.
Right, okay. Perfect.
full speed adaptive cruise control with stop and go, lane centering, automatic emergency braking with post-collision brake, as well as evasive steering assist, which is a feature that helps you steer away from a crash altogether. Lastly, it's also worth mentioning that the new Ford Everest is much more spacious on all three rows, thanks to its slightly longer wheelbase and much more upright body. And just in case you're curious, the 2-liter twin-turbo Ford Everest that we drove for the entire time was able to achieve around 11.6 kilometers per liter, which is a bit of an improvement compared to its previous generation model. And then the lower variants will come with a 2-liter single-turbo diesel engine that's mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. So, what are our first impressions on the new Ford Everest? Basically, the new Ford Everest is a huge leap forward. And just like when the previous generation first came out, this new Ford Everest will once again set the benchmark in the midsize pickup-based SUV segment, thanks to its significantly improved driving dynamics, along with its luxurious interior and cutting-edge technologies. The new Ford Everest is coming to the Philippines on July 28, and here are the prices that they just recently announced. Oh, and before we conclude this video, here's a bonus clip on something that's interesting about Kanchanaburi's roads.
This is so surreal. The elephant's crossing sign? Is that an elephant crossing sign?
Yes, sometimes they come down.
Okay, that's interesting.
Maybe like, especially in the evening or in the evening.
In the evening, they still go
Evening
out?
maybe like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening.
The road?
Yes.
Where do they go?
Maybe they came from
The farm?
from the not from the farm, from the jungle, but
Oh.
they maybe they find out that there's like lots of food around here because people living down here. So maybe sometime they just came
Yes,
down.
they're hungry.
Yes.